Let us proceed with the first song.
Hi everyone, today I'm sharing a layout created for Too Crafty Chipboard design team, and I'm making a very soft feminine layout featuring absolutely stunning chipboard pieces, as you can see here. So I didn't want to bore you too much, so I have really zoomed up this step just so that you get the concept of what I'm doing, but it doesn't take forever to watch. So I have got all my chipboard pieces laid out, and I'm starting to prime them all with some gesso. Now I have done everything but the clock face with white gesso. The clock face I will do with the black gesso, as you will see in just a minute. And I did this for a reason, because I wanted the main pieces of the chipboard, the bigger pieces, to have some of the glazes that I use on it to really stand out. And when you do it on a black gesso, you don't always see it as much, which you'll see in this video. It still finishes beautifully, but the glaze isn't quite as prominent. So now they're all dry, I'm using a combination of 3 different glazes. I'm using vintage photo and peeled paint and antique linen. So for the leaves and the flowers, I started off with the antique linen and just treated it like normal embossed powder. It was a lot of fun to play with the glaze. I love how they move. As you heat set, the glaze kind of moves on the white gesso, and it's kind of really cool. Now I'm going in again, and I have, just on the flower, I've done a double layer of the antique linen, just so that it's got more of a yellow tone to it. Now I'm going in with the leaves, and I'm hitting it with some of the peeled paint. Again, treating it just like an embossed powder. And just so they don't blow away, I'm just holding them with my scissors because I couldn't find my tweezers. Now I'm going into my window shutter, and I'm throwing on a heap of the, what's it called now? The vintage photo. And I'm heat setting that. As you can see, there's still some white peeking through. That was cool because I wanted to be able to add other colour. So I kind of did that on purpose. I really wanted a shabby chic look to go with this. So this is why I'm adding 3 different colours. So I'm adding peeled paint now and heat setting. And then finally I'll add just a little bit of the antique linen. You're really not going to see the colour on it, but it just adds that real shabby look over the final result. And this chipboard plays so nice with heat and embossing and all things all things embossing, but really this chipboard plays with everything beautifully. So now I am using on the black, and I've started with antique, no I haven't, I started with vintage photo and then ended up with antique linen. So like I mentioned, it didn't actually really show the colour, but it had a beautiful glaze, a beautiful sheen to it that really complemented the layout. So I wasn't too worried that you couldn't see too much of the colour. So now we're into our actual layout. And so these are the elements that I've chosen to use. I've used quite a few pieces from 49er Market today, and it really helped with this kind of feminine, soft floral arrangement that I've got here. A little bit shabby chic, a little bit vintage, with a bit of me thrown into it. So I've already primed my 12 by 12 sheet with some clear gesso, and I have a general idea of how I want to make this piece. Here I'm just sort of uncurling it, so I've just sprayed the back of my sheet with a bit of water and just adding the heat gun to it so it recurls back on itself. So because I had a general idea of the composition that I wanted to make, I'm adding some of the stamping of some foliage before I actually go in. So just having an idea. I didn't want to have a lot of heavy stamping on this layout, so I really was just hoping for little elements of this stamping to poke out. So this starts my general basis. Normally I always go in with a modelling paste or something. This time I decided, nope, no modelling paste. I am totally just loving the chipboard and the colours today, and wanted to just see how this would play out. So like I said, I had a general idea of how I wanted this to unfold. So I knew I wanted to offset my window shutter and have all the layers coming off to the left of it. So I will just be playing around with my elements now and getting them into place, which I will then glue and staple and basically bring it all together.
Let us proceed with the first song.
So I'm now starting to dress my layout with some beautiful embellishments, also by 49er Market, and then layering the awesome beautiful chippy in amongst all those layers. And I did heavily distress a lot of my layers, and then I inked the edges with, I think it was a Distress Oxide, and it was Gathered Twigs from memory. So I built up my layers as well with just some packing board, as it gives quite a lot of dimension, which I really like. So it allows me to then be able to tuck things in and around. So here I am just reinforcing my chippy just so that it doesn't keep moving. And I'm starting to add all the chipboard and embellishments to start to create the story for my layout. Now I wanted to add a little bit of script stamping. So I have just grabbed a stamp from AB Studios, doesn't really matter which one it is, and I've hit it up with some black ink, and I've started to just really create my shape around all of my elements. So the original stamping that I did with the foliage stamp was my basis for that. And then I have added the script stamp to soften all the edges around it. And now I'm adding some colour. So I actually used a couple of colours mixed together. I used a Distress Oxide mustard seed with a little bit of an Infusions limoncello. So it had more of that, more mustard yellow rather than, although darker than mustard yellow. So I really wanted that pop of yellow. It's like the daisy yellow. And all I've done is watered it down and added it to the page, added a bit of water, and then moved it around with my paintbrush to add a shadowing effect around my whole composition, as you can see that I'm doing here. And then with the remainder of the colour, I actually splashed that over my page. Again, only tackling the area that I really, really wanted it to be, so around my whole composition. And then I added a title, and this little layout was complete. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find a little bit of inspiration from it, and if anything, just enjoyed the time to watch and have some downtime. But I do hope that it's given you some inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me again today, and I look forward to next time we meet. Have a great week and have a crafty life, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.